I would like to present very shortly the Moussobah Foundation, which is an NGO that has been in existence for about 3 years.
Right. So thank you, N'goan. Thank you for agreeing for this interview and giving us the opportunity to bring to light the workings of Foundation Moussobah for celebrating the World Environment Day. And since we have so much to talk about in this limited time, we have curated certain questions that would help us make this interview easy to navigate. So if it's okay, can I start with my first question?
Yes, please, you can start.
So, is there enough conversation about the importance of protecting the environment?
Okay, if I want to answer that question, I'll say yes and no, because if we are looking at the past years, we can say something has evolved, but there's not enough conversation about environmental protection because not every individual on the earth are talking about it. So for me, it's not enough.
So, what do you feel an individual should do to contribute to the protecting of environment? Since you have said that the conversation has not been enough.
Okay, I think everyone should practice every day the eco gesture. Like those are the behavior that we need to make a habit for us to protect the earth.
And how has the foundation been a part of this? That is it guiding people? Is it telling them how is it done, or how has it been?
Okay, as for the foundation, we do a lot of things. We start by informing people every day through our newsletters about how the earth is going and how we need as an individual to do something about it to help the earth. And we also have a lot of projects that we carry on to help the earth, try to recover its original earth, if I can say something like that. There's one particular project we are currently working on, and this one is basically the promotion of biological agriculture. Like we are growing crops without using pesticide, herbicides. That are things that really help our resources to be protected. And for this project, we are currently having that on within schools, which are primary school and high school, junior and senior high schools. And through that, we are enabling the pupils to practice what they learn in everyday classes in science, like how to grow crops and how to practice biological agriculture. And through that, we are also building school refectories, that's whereby they would use the crops they are growing to cook for their everyday meals as breakfast and lunch. So those are the kind of projects that we are working on actually.
That's very interesting. But how is this form of agriculture different from the organic agriculture?
When you talk about organic agriculture, they are using of the use of pesticide, herbicides, and all those are chemicals. And when you use chemicals, you are actually polluting our resources, assets, soil resources, water resources, the atmosphere, because those chemicals infiltrate through soils and get into our water bodies. And at the end of the day, we are having water issues. We don't have enough water actually on Earth. And if we are polluting the little we have, those through the evapotranspiration will go back to the atmosphere and carry along those chemicals, and they will highly contribute in the global warming we are all facing actually. So through enabling people to stop the use of those chemicals will help them actually eat safely, if I can say, and also help the earth reducing the amount of polluting gases we are emitting every day. So this is how this project is actually helping both individuals in their health and the earth too.
So talking about pollutants, what kind of activities are something that human beings do that affects the environment?
Okay, there's a lot of activities that actually we do every day in our everyday lives that affect the environment. But there's one I really want to talk about, which is food wasting. We certainly don't realize that, but we do that every day. When we cook that an amount of food that is too much for to sustain the family, and then we have leftovers, sorry, and those leftovers we actually threw them in the bin, etc. But we can use them in the following day or even in the evening for lunch, like using our imagination and the recipe we already know to make new delicacies that we can eat. Wasting those foods actually are causing a great harm to the earth. Why? Because growing those foods that we are wasting takes a lot of our resources. I insist on the water because to grow crops, we all need to irrigate, and irrigation is based on water. And there's this report that the UN made not long ago that stated that in the early 2025, a lot of countries are going to face water scarcity. And if we are not careful and we don't manage what the little we have, this might happen sooner than the 2025. And actually we are in 2022, so 2025 is just three years ahead of us. And without water we can't survive. We need to protect our water resources, so we need to manage, and fighting against those food waste will really help us manage the little water we have. That's one thing that I really want each and everyone to cook what they can eat. And even if they cook something that is more than what they actually need to eat, they can put it in the fridge and use those leftovers to make new delicacies the following day. And also, one thing that they also need to do when they serve themselves, like we are sitting, let's say for lunch, for instance, we are sitting at the table, we all serve ourselves. We need to serve what we can really finish. There's no point on having a plate full of food that we cannot finish and we throw the rest in the dustbin. We are wasting our resources.
Absolutely correct. And you pointed out on a very important fact that by 2025, major cities and major countries face the risk of water scarcity. So this is the future. But talking about the past, what kind of improvement have you seen in the mindset of people and in their activities when, as long as the environment is concerned?
If I might say, since the discovery of global warming in 1824 by scientist Arrhenius, there's a lot of awareness that have been raised against the population around or across the world. And we can see that since this date till now, a lot of governments, a lot of countries have actually realized that there's something bad going on with the earth, because we are all facing the consequences each and every day. And they started by all those COPs that we are all aware of, to take measurements to help all the countries to actually go with the Sustainable Development Goals, which will help them actually protect the earth by taking measures within their countries, within their societies. And there's also one fact that I've realized, that since then there's a lot of NGOs that skewed their focus on environmental protections that are really increasing around the world and even in our country, Ivory Coast. So that shows that we are actually aware that we need to do something. We need to sensitize populations to actually adopt some behavior that will help the earth, that will help us protect our resources and decrease, if possible, the warming that we are all facing.
Yeah. So, considering the war that's going on, so how do you feel? How does it affect the environment and the people who are directly dependent on those biodiversities and the environment?
When you look at, I'll take some few examples that we are facing. I'll take the example in my countries first, then I'll take some example outside my countries, if you allow me. In my countries, for instance, every day since sometimes now, some months, I can say, we are facing heat, high heat during the afternoon time from 12 to 5 or almost 4 p.m. We are facing heat, and it's really unbearable, which is something that we're not used to. See, when you take, for example, one of our city, which names is Goodera, is along the coast. These cities is facing erosion, which is actually a normal phenomenon. I can say a geological phenomenon that the Earth has been facing since its creation. But this thing has been really increased by the global warming, since that there's a whole part of this city that has totally disappeared due to erosion. And all those are consequences of the global warming. If you take floodings, there are a lot of floodings that are happening around the world that are as a result of global warming. Even firewoods. If you take Australia, for example, in 2021, I think that was around March, there are a lot of firewood that happened in that country. That was as the result of global warming. You see, so every day we are seeing the results of global warming. We are all facing the consequences of it. And we need, as individuals, to change our habits. Earlier on, I spoke about food wasting. That is one of the things that we need to change. But it's not the only thing. I'll take a simple example. When we charge our phones, our computers, our tab, etc., we have the bad habits when we unplug the charger to leave it plugged to the wall, the plug wall. I don't know if you do that, but I know a lot of people do that, which is bad, because if you unplug the charger only at your phone ends, and you leave the plugs on the wall, it's still consuming electricity. And most of the countries are using fossil fuels as the basis to produce electricity. And those fossil fuels, are highly concentrated on carbon dioxide. And we are releasing a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is the major cause of global warming. See, this little habit that we think is not harmful is actually very harmful to the earth. See, so all those habits that we are having, we need to change them and to make the eco gesture, as I was saying earlier on, our daily habits.
Perfectly said. And with this question, we have come to the end of our interview. And thank you so much for agreeing for this interview and shedding light on how important it is to conserve an environment, especially at this time where we can directly see the consequences that we would be facing if we do not do it. So thank you so much.
I was really glad to do the interview, and thank you very much for the opportunity you gave to the Foundation Moussobah. And I appeal each and every one of us to contribute to the fight we are all making to help our earth, because this is not only for us but also for the future generations. What we should ask all ourselves, what do we want to leave to our kids, our grandkids, our great grandkids? And based on that, we should make changes in our lives. Thank you very much.